Good morning.
Morning, Simon.
Happy Wednesday to everyone.
Happy Wednesday.
Awesome. How you doing, Al?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good.
I see Jim Provencio. Thank you for being on the call. Lee.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for being on the
Thank you.
on the call. Sue and Nick, good morning. Jennifer, good morning. Christy, good morning. Jeremy,
Good morning.
good to see you on. All right. So before we get started, I was going through the chapters over the weekend, and it's just a phenomenal book to be spearheading with you guys. And this was, again, something Michelle Brown recommended, and I am so excited about this book. So just looking forward to...
Welcome to Alltech Lansing. You are now paired. Enjoy.
Must be Jim. let me mute him for a bit. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get started. So, Al, how you doing?
Good. So yeah, I have chapters 3 and 4 of the book.
3 and 4. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a real amazing book. So yes, special thanks to Michelle for bringing this and the Miracle Morning series. The real estate is the original book. That's great. And this is a perfect follow-up.
Absolutely.
So,
I cannot agree more than what you're saying now.
Very good. So on chapter 3, my key takeaways was like moving from limited to limitless. It's more of a mindset, as far as getting things done. And I think we all relate to it. Like when we're little, like little kids, nothing was impossible. We all had dreams. We all pursued it, and there was nothing holding us back. We weren't preconditioned, per se.
Well, and just to touch on that, Al, I mean, let's go back to before you even had a real estate license, guys. I still remember vividly. I was 23 years old, I think, when I got my real estate license. Now, what's so funny is that even at 21, 2 years prior to me getting my real estate license, I was already thinking about possibly getting into real estate and not really do real estate, but do real estate investments. And how this all started for me was infomercials back in the 90s. There was tons of infomercials, how to get rich through real estate, no money down strategies on getting real estate. There was a gentleman by the name of Tom Wu. Most of you guys probably don't know who Tom Wu is. But Tom Wu was, I think he was Vietnamese, and he had this infomercial back in the early 90s, mid 90s. And I was so blown away on the infomercial on how, an immigrant from, I think he was from Vietnam, how he built success through real estate. But what's so funny, it was his infomercials. Now, he would portray himself as, a person that started, I believe he started as he worked at the country club, and he would service, all these millionaires that were members. And that's how it started for him, because he would, always believe on the American dream, being successful. And if you guys ever remember the infomercials of Tom Wu, he had yachts, he had mansions, he had exotic vehicles. And then he had all these women all over, and I was like, cool, maybe real estate is the niche for me to get into, and this was, again, when I was a 21, 22-year-old kid. So that's what started the momentum that maybe real estate is the direction, because every time I would read a book, every time I would see something, everyone that I would hear was based on, how they got wealthy. It was through leverage of real estate. And back then, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know much, but I knew that I wanted to be in that level. So I would go to these infomercial seminars, and they would pump you up, they would excite you, but then they would hit you with this $5,000, $10,000. If you want to learn the secrets to real estate investing, then it only is going to cost you $9,999.99 to join this three-day event. Then I would look at my at my ability to think, well, you know what, I just don't have the ability to pay for this training, because it was just too much for me at 21. Now I had credit cards, but even so, I would never take the risk to ultimately move forward. So that's how it started for me. And they would give us ideas, and they would throw little takeaways, and that's how I started really analyzing. Okay, so everything that they do is about buying low, selling them at a higher price, and making a margin of profit. So that's how I started, really getting into the real estate realm. Was, okay, I understand some of the strategies, but I just don't understand the components of the contracts. So I says, well, maybe I should get a real estate license so I can learn real estate contracts. And that's how it all started for me. It was, with no real direction that I wanted to become a real estate agent. I just wanted to learn the contracts so I can negotiate, buy properties, fix properties, hold properties, and make a lot of money. So, and there was other infomercials out there in the 90s, and they were so popular. And that was one of the things. So just to kind of touch on what you were saying, Al, that you just hit it in the nail on the head, was the ability that we all got our real estate license for some reason. For me, that was my reason. I don't know if anyone would like to share their reason on why they got into real estate. Anyone?
I'll make a quick comment about that. I was in the jewelry industry for about 10 years.
Okay.
More or less same thing as you, Simon. I kept hearing about real estate, and unfortunately, I didn't make moves fast enough to invest and so forth. But that was the key, and I did advise some people to do it. They had stable jobs, and this is when prices were below 100,000 average home. And they were, in 6 months, you could gain 20,000 in profit and buy a second home and so forth. And in no time, this couple that I was advising had about $3 million ownership from basic jobs, LA Times, and the wife was a real estate agent. And she did what I told her, and then 2 years later, she said, thank you so much. It worked. I'll make a comment quickly on page 23 of the book. He mentions believing, having faith like a child, and that's so true, with a caveat, because as a child, always somebody saved us from stuff. And in our case, as far as creating miracles for ourselves, nobody's going to do it for us. As children, we just have to ask, and the miracle would be there. But as adults, nobody's going to do it. We need to do it ourselves. But we still have to have a childlike faith in things, in projects, and go for them. And they take a life of their own eventually. But we need to expose ourselves to projects, whatever they may be, small or big. And then things happen. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's to start a project, and then it takes a life of its own.
Absolutely. Awesome, Lee. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
Let me share a couple of another takeaway on page 61. He mentions entitlements and so forth, and sometimes we feel guilty, but I came up with a phrase, I think I heard it from somebody, I'm not sure, I'm sure I didn't come up with it, but you have to learn to learn. And what I came up with is, I mean, that phrase, I must have heard it, but the entitlement, the healthy entitlement, and this is all on page 51, comes from a healthy entitlement feeling comes from the amount of effort, of extraordinary effort. So somebody really puts an effort out there, there's no guilt anymore being entitled to something because you're paying for it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that's another takeaway from page 61.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Lee. Awesome stuff. All right. Anyone else? Come on, guys. We're all we're all here to help one another. So anyone?
I
Yeah.
can actually I came to this country to finish my education, so I did. I work in different capacities, and one day the governor decided that my business was no longer needed, so they closed. I have to close like 4 or 5 offices. So I decided, what am I going to do? I have few friends that their parents have accumulated real estate. And I thought, well, maybe that would be something that I might be interested. So my friend that was also in real estate and he needed a Spanish speaking person. So I said, well, let me give it a try. And well, that's happened. So that was exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, we all have our own beliefs and obviously the reasons why we got into real estate. Lee shared, Rosie shared, I shared, and I know all of us have, a reason why we joined real estate. So it's a phenomenal career, to run your own business and the ability to help, families, live the American dream by ownership of investment properties and homes. So yes, Michelle.
What I love about chapter 3 is how those of us that are in bold right now, it parallels the be, do, have, and that your thoughts become your actions, because it opens, I think it was page 52, that says the world that you're living in is the life that you perceive. And that's the perfect reflection, a mirror image of our internal reality. And then when it gets to page 55, it says that the war you wage is with yourself. Mm-hmm. And wherever you are in your life right now is because that's where you put yourself. And it's where you're supposed to be to develop yourself to move to a higher level. And it was such a parallel of everything that we hear in bold with the bold laws. And I love chapter 3. I think it's great.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing. So awesome. Well, let's continue, Al.
Okay. Just like what Michelle said, chapter 3, it's having the right mindset first, and then the extraordinary effort that's needed to produce it. It's not just willing and thinking it and it'll come to fruition. It's a 2-step process. So once you got to believe it, you have to have integrity with yourself just to create that belief and have it strong. And a lot of us, we do have dreams and goals. And a lot of times, we're stopped for whatever reason. We have our dream boards, we have our goals, like myself, but sometimes I hit a ceiling and I cannot push through it. And I'm trying to figure out why. And I was going to ask if anybody else had put dreams, goals, or achievements, but could never, we get close, but for some reason hit the ceiling and never achieve. And I was wondering what stops us? Why is it our limiting belief?
I have something to say about that. Yes. I just had that conversation yesterday morning with my coach. That very same conversation, because and I was explaining to her all the extra effort that we're putting in, because we don't want Gary Nix having to be out there all by himself at the top of the list with 21 escrows. I feel sorry he's all alone up there, but we're doing all the extra effort from the 10X book and from this book, to get to where we want to be with those goals. And she stopped me right there and said, the more you resist the progress, the more effort you have to put into the progress. And you need to figure out why you're resisting moving to the next level, and get rid of the resistance, and then you won't need any effort. And that just goes back then to the one thing. You know, what is the one thing? If you do that, everything else becomes unnecessary. So it's finding what that resistance is, and that's not easily done. And we're doing some work on that this week to figure it out so that we don't have to exude as much effort as we are.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So we are putting up roadblocks, and it could be the fear of, I'm going to be too busy. I'm busy already, but getting 3 or 4 more escrows, how am I going to handle that? You know, things like that. So those could be the resistant triggers, I guess, that we're putting in front of ourselves.
I have a little bit of a takeaway, and I made a note that it was from page 63. Basically, we do waste a lot of time in different things that are not conducive to our goal or creating a miracle for ourselves. So I've caught myself questioning activities that I do during the day that are not conducive to my goal. And mainly, bottom line, with most people, not everybody, but it's the income part of it. And a few times I'm about to take off, going to the streets and look at property and so forth. And I ask myself, is this going to be conducive to income? Bottom line, after that, there's a lot of possibilities helping people if that's what you do, or just having security because of the income. So I question activities that I have during the day. Is this conducive to my goal of having a nest egg and so forth? So we waste time a lot of times. Inadvertently, we do things, and we have to question every activity during the day, I think. So it's more conducive to the creation of goals. And I'll throw in one last note that I made, and that was from page 73, that we need to maintain the 2 principles and practice them every day. It's hard to do, but we need to stay with this book even after we're done, to have the unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Because it's easy when we're done with this book, we go to something else, but those 2 are so powerful. Michelle, everybody knows the whole book, this chapter particularly, but those 2 principles are so powerful. It's crazy how things could happen. A lot good things could happen with these 2 beliefs. So thank you. And the last one, and then I'll let everybody else talk. Basically, we need to expose ourselves to a project or something, to find out our potential. We all have great potential, limitless potential, but unless we expose ourselves to something, we don't know. We don't know. We need to throw ourselves out there without fear, and then we go from there. And then we know we're all capable of great things if that's what we intend to do. You know, the main thing that comes up forever is income, but once the income is there, then there's no limit. You know, so thank you. And that's it. Those are all the notes that I made. Chapter 1, I began on 2 and I didn't get far enough. So I let everybody else contribute. Thank you. So,
all right. So just like you were saying, you know, being out there, and I think the thing that's going to help us all is enrolling it with other people. And we surround ourselves with other people like-minded. It just pushes the bar that much further. And the learning curve is so much shorter than trying to figure it out ourselves. And we're also encouraged by others. So I think this group is a good core group, but I also say not just this group, reach out to other people. It doesn't have to be just real estate. It could be in any facet or any area of your life, financial, physical, mental, spiritual. It's people that really help others. And I think that's gonna progress you even more. And then the book does touch on miracle mavens. So these people, the way I look at it, they're just experts or connoisseurs on creating miracles. They know, it's a mindset, how to bypass, and I think it's a reptilian brain, a primal brain that keeps us safe maybe back in the day, in the primal days, it was a literally kept you safe from dying. But in today's society, the way I see that reptilian brain is more preventing us from failing or looking bad. So we can just get over that and have the mindset that failure is actually good and embrace it, and we're going to learn and grow from it. These miracle mavens, they have no fear. They actually look forward to failure, and it just pushes them and propels them to push to the next level. So I was going to ask if anybody had any takeaways on anything like that on the book when they talked about the mavens.
I do have a quick thing about that. Basically, there's another book, another series of beliefs that I think it's a 5-second rule that you have a great idea, and unless you put it in writing and in practice immediately, the brain stops you from trying anything. It's too hard, too far, too everything. So the brain is trying to protect us, so we need to interfere and let the subconscious do the work of developing whatever it may be, because the brain is only trying to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
It's an automatic thing.
Something that you said, Lee, that made me think, putting things in writing.
Yes.
You know how important that is when you put things in writing. And I have a journal that I log in most of my things right here. My suggestion to everyone is get a journal, get something that you can actually write. By having it, you can always go back and reference, and it can be from the small things to the big things. It is so important and so crucial. And what's so ironic, I learned this many, many years ago when I was a teenager on someone that told me to write everything down, all your dreams, all your needs and your wants. And I created, it was like a 3x5 card, and I just wrote everything I wanted. And there was probably about 15 things that I wrote down thinking, you know, this is not going to happen, but these are the things that I want. I did it and put it away. I don't know, it might have been 10 years later. I was going through some boxes and I happened to find the 3x5 cards, and they were on a clip. When I saw this, I go, wow, you know what? I totally forgot about this. And then I started going through it, and I was blown away. I was literally blown away because everything that I put came to reality. Things that I wanted came to reality. Things that I wanted to pursue, things were in reality. Out of the 15, there was 3 things that I still hadn't accomplished. 3 things out of 15. I was just so blown away on the power of writing your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. It could be anything from small things to big things. So when Lee just said that, it just made me think about it. Write it down, guys, because it'll definitely come to fruition.
You know, eventually, if you read what you wrote, it goes into the subconscious, and there's no limit. The subconscious has no idea what is the limit. So if you read what you wrote a few times, it just went there on its own, and it became something eventually.
Absolutely.
And like in the book, though, it's saying too, we have to take out all the noise of when we shut our brains off and all the bad ideas come in. It's keeping all the good ideas up front and in vision.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm. And then your friends and your support, they pull you out too. Sometimes they see, they know, they can sense you're not you, something's up. They shake you out of it. They say, you know, get out of your head, your monkey brain right now, and let's do it. Yeah. That's one thing I have to say I miss about not going into the office. You know, working from home, yeah, but it's so easy to get that monkey brain at home. When I'm in the office and I see you, see the other guys, like yesterday I popped in, right back on track. It's like, all right, let's do this.
Oh yeah, it's that what we call from Bold the drunk monkey, right?
Yep, the drunk monkey.
I mean, it was good to see you, Al. I mean, we did a soft open yesterday with staff coming back in, so it felt a little bit norm, you know, to see Linda, to see Nat, to see Holland. It's getting that back to the rhythm, back to norm. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying about that, Al.
Yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned, like you write everything down, you journal. I think most of us have dream boards or something similar to that. I used to do that, and then just recently updated it. And it was, I think 2014 is when I last did it. So about 6 years ago. And I did it years prior. And what I do is, it's a digital picture basically, and I just update images in there. And then I put them in picture frames, and I have one in the bathroom, one in my closet, one in my bedroom, one at work. I have a smaller version in my wallet. And in the pictures, when I was changing them, I noticed, I kept the old ones. And I was looking at the old ones, and it's so weird to see exactly what you said. I put in, and it's like, we did all these places. I put places of Europe, places like random pictures I just wanted to travel to. And I looked right in the middle of that picture, Spain, Italy, France. And it's like, I didn't pick to go there, but for whatever reason, maybe subconsciously, I just picked it up, and we ended up going there. The cars that we wanted from back then, same thing. I was like, oh, that's weird. It's the same car. I didn't realize it until I looked later. So a lot of power in that. So thank you, for reminding us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Let's see. The book also, talked about enlightened entitlement, not misdirected entitlement. So again, the mindset of, if we want something or want to achieve something, we're not just capable, we deserve it. But, there's a big but, we deserve it if we put in the effort and we work for it. Not, well, I did some of it and I should get it anyways. Thinking like that, losing integrity with yourself is actually going to do more damage to you. That's my takeaway. If you have integrity with yourself, set the small goals, accomplish them, and then reward yourself. I think that'll build. It'll be like a building blocks or stepping stones for you to actually create bigger miracles. So start with the small ones first. Have good and high integrity with yourself, and just build on that. But don't slack off or be lazy and say, well, I just deserve it. I can charge it, or I can, do something else. It'll actually, you won't believe in yourself. You're gonna go backwards, I think. And I think that's what he was kind of alluding to.
Well, if you don't mind, let me just add to what you're saying, Al. On page 54, it says, deep down inside, we know that we are limitless, but our own brains and the world around us confine us, so we remain smaller than we should be. I mean, it's such a powerful little statement. Because you can accomplish anything. Look at, the what was it, Apollo, not 13, but Apollo. I think it was in the 60s where we walked in the moon. Who would have ever thought that we would walk in the moon? To get astronauts up in space because of unlimited beliefs that they can, achieve. To be the first person to create a plane to be able to fly. There's so many things that, the history can tell us. And, with the future, gosh, I would never have thought in my time that vehicles would be able to drive itself. Look at a Tesla, the technology of a Tesla. I literally had the opportunity when I used to work in Montebello. One of the title guys had the station wagon or the wagon, the Tesla. And he says, hey, let's go for a spin on it. And the car literally drove itself. I kid you not. It went, it slowed down, it turned. It did everything without me even touching the steering wheel. It was just so mind-blowing that a vehicle can do that. That's technology, guys, and that's now. You imagine 20 years, 30 years from now, the technology, just like our phones. I remember having phones that were analog, and now look, most of our business is done on our phones. Our laptops, are used, but I think we use our phones more for emails, texting, communications, researching. I mean, the power of the phones that we have now is unbelievable. And this is now, you imagine 20, 30 years from now, the technology. But, you know, and that's the same for all of us on this call. You know, you can achieve greatness if you put your mind to it.
Somebody said that the real fortunes, big fortunes, haven't been made yet, and the real important inventions haven't been invented yet. Even though we're seeing incredible things, a lot bigger things are coming our way, and faster and faster. I remember when memory for memory for computers was so prohibitive, expensive, and now, because of that, greater and greater things are happening in technology, computers. So we haven't seen anything yet. Real big things are coming, they say. You know, like you said, in 50 years, we're not going to recognize, the people who are around, not going to recognize what we are now. So it's really interesting that what will be happening faster and faster real soon, I think. Thank you.
So we have to embrace that. I know change is something that people fear. Technology, like you said, it's changing, and not just linearly, it's exponentially.
Yep.
Like you said, it's going to explode. We're going to have to embrace this, learn from it, and seek opportunities from it. And I think that's the other thing the book also leads to, like excuses. The biggest excuse I use is, I'm too busy. And what he says is, what Hal says is, that's an excuse, and you can have that mindset. But look at the opportunities that you're going to be losing from saying that. And that was one of the biggest takeaways for me, because like you were asking who got into real estate. I got into real estate because my dad. I was a programmer. I was happy. I was making decent money, and on the weekends started helping him out. And his mindset was so different than a boxed-in programmer. And it took me years to get out of my head, but eventually I'm still trying to get out of my head. It was such an eye-opening experience to think that life is limitless, not where to go to school, get a degree, get a job, get benefits, pay medical, and put the money in the IRA so I can retire and just look forward to retirement. It's such a different mindset getting into real estate. And that's why I got into it 2 feet, because life out there was so different than what I was conditioned or trained or learned to do. So the book did say, hey, you know, staying busy, yes, we're all busy. But if you're not going to be open to opportunities, you just shut yourself out. And some of the opportunities I found in real estate was like selling to investors, working with contractors, and then seeing what they were doing. He bought, he fixed it up, and then he sold the house, and I saw his net profit because I would sell the house. And he asked, do you want to partner up on one? I'm in a property now, I don't have money. And my first mindset was, well, I don't have the money. You know, I need 300,000. And so he says, well, this is what I did. I refinanced. So, oh, okay. And pulled money out. Interesting. So I did it. I followed his lead he taught me, and it opened up more avenues of business. So, and all this is through other people. So who you surround yourself, you become. And he is the hardest worker that I knew. Successful, failed a few times, went bankrupt, lawsuits, built the business back up again, and never gave up. So, and I'm still in contact with him. We learn from each other. So I was wondering if anybody else had examples of people like that, because usually it's somebody else, a role model, a mentor that really just pushes you to the next level.
I do. I have currently, I am being brought into a possible investment situation through my best friend. And you know, being in real estate and around real estate for as long as I had, she, our friends and we don't know really what everyone around us is really doing until they share it with us. And, she has a problem with trusting people in general, but we talk all the time. And of course I talk about business ideas, and obviously she knows my skill set around real estate, but no buts about it. And they've presented an actual situation for me to go into an investment this year. So, her mother-in-law lost her husband, unfortunately, recently. But because I already spoke to them about being interested in going in on an investment while learning, I'm the first person they thought of. So they, I know the mother, she's going to probably move to Sacramento. I get to go in on a 1031 exchange. As some of you know, I lost my parents. So I'm trying to do something with this money. And this is now an opportunity for me to put money into the down payment. She's going to 1031 exchange. Obviously, I work with a title company. So it just came around in a business fashion as well as another business fashion. But that's how I'll start. That's how I get started in an investment. I don't own any property yet. So yeah, it could be right under your nose.
Yeah.
Just present.
Very good. That's just the way it works. And it's always through others, in my experience. It's hard to do it yourself. So just be open to those opportunities. Very good. Was there any other takeaways on chapter 3, or shall we move to chapter 4?
Am I unmuted? You're on.
I think Sue wants to.
Yeah.
Hold on. I don't know what's going on.
They're still on mute.
Yeah. I'm trying to do it for them, but I can't even.
While she's getting on, I'll also let you guys know.
Okay.
That happens because of this.
I think we're good. Hey, Sue, good morning.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. What I was going to say is the part that he talked about staying busy, when we were talking about, being busy, is a waste of time on your lower priority activities. In other words, like checking your email or checking your voicemails, posting on social media, researching things, organizing your office. We stay busy doing those little things, and then we get off track and we don't do the important things. And so that's part of the what does he call it? The misdirected entitlement. So I think we're all guilty of that in some respects. That's it.
Appreciate that, Sue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
And that's exactly, the one thing hit heavy on that.
Yeah.
So that was a great book to, it's like everything's kind of dovetailing, with all our books that we're reading. And then I think this book actually is it's an amazing book, and we're only on chapter 4. It's really bringing everything together. So thank you very much. So on chapter 4, is becoming emotionally invincible, how to release every negative emotion that ever held you back. This was for me, it hit heavy. It was pretty deep as well. So I had to reread this, I think 3 times. I don't know if anybody went to Landmark Forum. Have you guys ever heard of that? Okay, very good. So to me, it hit me hard. And that was a 3-day intense class. And this is all summarized in 1 chapter. So I think that's why it hit me hard. Tony Robbins would be similar. He hits with an emotional state. So we have the ability to change our emotional state, whether it's fear or excitement. So somebody jumping out of a plane, I know friends that look forward to it and get fired up for it, and we get people that would die. We're doing the same thing. We're both parachuted up, but it's just an emotional state, 2 individual people, same activity. So that's the way I kind of look at it. And we have the ability to change from fear to excitement to what they say, like you run away or you face. So I was wondering on chapter 4, was there anybody that had any takeaways they wanted to share on it?
I do.
Yeah. All right, Michelle.
It came back to what we were talking about earlier, because this chapter is all about figuring out the resistance, and it opens that way on page 76, where it says on the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it's some form of negativity. And through my coaching, trying to figure out where the resistance is so that we can execute less effort if we figure out where the resistance is. When we talked about this a little bit earlier, Al, we were talking about our resistance is maybe our fear of getting to the next level, that we're going to be busy or something. I don't have that fear. I've been busier than God's angels on some days in the past with business, and that feeds my soul. That's good for me. I love that. So I don't have that fear. But in trying to find, obviously there's a resistance somewhere, and that one thought and this chapter brought that all together. It's judging. I'm judging the people that we're calling in our sphere and future clients. I'm judging how they're going to react to the call, and trying to predict, setting an expectation that really doesn't exist is what I've been doing. That I expect the resistance to come from them as we're, trying to help them and figure out what their options are and what they're going to be doing with their investments or their home or their other real estate opportunities. So that's where the resistance is that I think I'm perceiving that it's going to come from the other side, so to speak, and it really doesn't. So I have to just push past that and just talk to as many people as I can about what their plans are, what their options are. This whole chapter it is like a Tony Robbins course. It is like Forum. It is like all of that stuff, because it just brings out a home that it's rooted in us, and we just have to, not be that person and not come from that fearful position. That was my takeaway from it.
Makes sense. That makes so much sense. And the amount of energy that we put into judging or not accepting or preconceiving what they're gonna, respond with, we can't control that. So why try to put energy into that? Just let it go, have full acceptance and no judgment, and whatever it is, and we move on to the next. So I think you just removed a big roadblock for myself. Thank you very much, Michelle. Makes so much sense.
A couple of these two items, being emotionally involved, relate to a book that we did way for agreements. And two of those items you mentioned, Michelle, is that we assume too many things. We start letting our brain go and think they're going to say this or this or that when it's not there. It's in our imagination. So we shouldn't assume things. The other is that we shouldn't take anything personal, particularly in business, even personal in our personal lives. Should not take anything personal. It's crazy to have our feelings hurt for any little thing, especially in business. I never did. I never have. I don't care what comes to me. I take it. Business is business. But assuming things is also bad, because it's just our imagination a lot of times. Go ahead, Michelle.
It ties right into what Al was just saying, and the way that Hal started the book is with the unwavering faith, and the extraordinary effort is to not be attached to the outcome, right? Because it's going to go where it's going to go, and we just come from being authentic and have the conversation, and not be attached to the outcome, because it's not going to be, it's not personal. And it is what it is, and the outcome is really what we're looking for when we're talking to someone in a conversation, to see how we can help them. And when we get them to that point, that's actually what we were looking for, to see what it is that they really need from us, what the outcome is. And so when it's just put in that concise little sentence is don't be attached to the outcome, because the outcome is really what you're looking for, whichever way it goes. It makes so much sense. And so you just gotta flow with that.
And then just like his accident, you know, he accepted his new reality. The new reality is he almost died. And then he survived. Okay, he survived, but he's going to be put in a wheelchair. He was good with anything. If I'm going to be in a wheelchair, I'm in a wheelchair. I can't change it, but I'm going to live my life the best way I can. And to have that fully accepted in his heart, it's hard to do, but he learned to do it. And I think he put it into 5 minute, like a 5 minute rule. Any outcome that didn't go his way, okay, I'll be upset about it. 5 minutes, that's it, and now I'm moving on. So I think that was another takeaway I got from the book too, is full acceptance. That doesn't mean you can't be upset. You can still be upset, but limit it to a small amount of time, and then move on, and then look at what you can do to, what was the quote? Michelle mentioned it. You are supposed to be where you are, and darn, I wish I had it. Anyways, it doesn't matter for him what's happened to him. It is what it is, but he's going to find a way, and he's going to realize.
5-5.
What's that?
5-5.
55.
What you're
Well,
looking for, yeah, what you're looking for is on page 55.
Oh, I don't have my, I have my notes, but not my book.
It says the war that you wage is with yourself, and wherever you are in your life right now, whether you're at the top of the game or you're enduring circumstances that are unpleasant or and painful, or somewhere in between, consider this. You're exactly where you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be to learn what you need to learn so you can become the person that you need to be and want to be. And you're capable of creating that.
That was it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, just to add to what Michelle and Al are saying, look at the circumstances that we're facing right now. Let's go back in March. I think it was March 19. Do you guys remember that day? If you don't remember, that's when we were basically confined to stay at home. Some people immediately adapted to the new norm. Some people did not. And look at how we were able to continue, creating business, even with the limit that we had. Yeah, it was an obstacle. It was challenging. It was up and down roller coaster ride, but ultimately, agents were still closing deals. Agents were still, putting deals in escrow. But again, going back to what both Michelle and Al is the limited beliefs that agents have, or people have, that continue striving for excellence and, adapting to what we have, the challenges that we had, but we still continue doing what we need to do to make the deals happen. And it's staying positive and being in a core group like this to keep the momentum going. Because regardless, we adapted, we changed, and then we started Zoom calls, and we just continued where we left off. And that's the beauty of leaders like yourselves, guys, that you can overcome any challenges as long as you continue progressing and helping one another. And this is, look at then and look at where we're at now, and we'll be in the near future. So if this ever happens again, we will be able to quickly adapt to it, even better than before. So thank you for sharing, guys.
Yeah. And the way I look at it too, it was a big change for everybody, but I also see how efficient I can be now.
Oh yeah.
And I can be home and have lunch with my wife, and where before that was never even a thought. Like, oh yeah, it's nice to be able to do that. I have a gym. I always wanted a home gym. I have a home gym now. It's like I have a home office. Like, oh, this is not bad. I'm still going to go to my office at work, but hey, you got lemons, make lemonade, right?
That's right. Love it.
All right. Was there any other takeaways on, let's see, on chapter 4?
I'm just going to try to throw this out there. I think the biggest takeaway I took on chapter 4 was my lack of ability to do things is definitely not up to par with what other people have had to go through. And, you know, for you know, what society puts at us, you know, there's always a better outcome that we can bring forth.
I'd like to comment on what Michelle said earlier, as far as looking forward to a favorable outcome personally. I think it relates to having a sincere desire or attempt to help somebody. Like in other fields, and particularly in real estate, it's accomplished easier if you do it in a manner of educating the person at the other side with tons of information. And it doesn't seem that like it sinks in, but it does. I'll make it very short and sweet. When I was selling jewelry, I never tried to sell anybody anything. I gave them a lot of information and they would leave. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later would come looking for me because they had everything. When there was no internet, nobody really knew about the 4 C's of diamonds or gold or 18 karat or 24 or 14 karat. I gave a lot of information on gemstones, blah, blah, blah. I worked for Slavics, which was the sales fine jewelry stores. And that's all I did. I never tried to sell anything. I gave a lot of information, and that's an easier way to win people over by educating them. And it's a sincere attempt to help somebody without expecting anything. It comes back on its own. The benefit comes back on its own. You're just trying to help somebody genuinely. Thank you.
I think you come from contribution and it's sincere.
Yep.
The people, they know that. You can feel it. And those same people are gonna let you know, I have friends and family members that are looking for jewelry, and this is the only guy, Lee, is the person that I can trust. The business will come to you. You come from contribution, everything flows. So it's an energy. You give out good energy, the energy returns back to you. But it starts, you know, you have to come from your heart. That's just my philosophy.
Yeah, so multiply that by thousands of times having to do with real estate because it's so much a bigger deal buying a property than buying a ring. No.
And that's why referrals are key to a business, you know, because it is probably the largest financial decision that people will make. And they're not going to trust some internet robot or anything like that. Well, I hope not. They're going to want somebody they can trust and probably face to face, you know.
By the way, you touch on something so important. Everything is technology. The best way is still going to be for the next 100 years, person to person. I don't care what they say about technologies, face to face. One of the main producers, I forget his name, I run into him on the street on Artesia, and he says, yeah, I'm here knocking on doors, belly to belly, he said. He was talking to the people. That's the best way.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very good.
Anyone else?
Have?
Anyone else would like to share?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. All right, Al.
Shall we find somebody who's gonna take chapters, what, 5, 6, and then
5 and 6. I'm gonna leave it open for anyone that wants to take the lead for next week to read chapter 5 and 6. Do we have any volunteers that would like to do just like Michelle, just like Al?
I think Coral was the one that, yeah, asked last time. Coral was the next one. Right, Coral?
Coral, do you want to take those together, you and I, 5 and 6? Be careful with the water behind you.
All right.
I could take those. I'll make notes and mention them like today. I'll take those, 5 and 6.
All right, guys. So we'll have Coral and Lee spearhead next week. and take on chapter 5 and 6. Again, we'll all help, guys. You know, it's a contribution about helping one another. So don't think that you have to do it all by yourself. Lee, what happened to your hair?
I'm trying to show it and it's not, hold on.
Looks like you just got out of bed, my
No,
friend.
but you know what? It's not showing correctly. Hold on.
Love it, love it.
Oh, there it is.
Thinking. You got him thinking, you know?
Yeah, you look like Mr. Einstein. Or what was Doc from Back to the Future?
That Doc.
Yeah, more like him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The idea's already starting.
Beautiful. Al,
Thank you, everybody.
phenomenal. Al, you did a phenomenal job. Thank you for spearheading this one. You're dynamic. And I just love your tenacity, Al. You're a phenomenal person, humble, and just a person that I always like to align myself. So thank you for spearheading today's mastermind. And let's just continue the progression, guys. Books definitely help the mind. It helps the ability to have these type of conversations to help motivate and educate all of us. So again, on behalf of Keller Williams, myself, Al, thank you so much for doing this for us. Next week, we'll have Lee and Cora help and spearhead the next chapters. So just a quick reminder, guys, we have a sales meeting today at 1 o'clock. Love to see you all. I have a credit restoration company who's going to be one of our guest speakers, talk to you guys on how to help your clients increase their FICO scores. Interest rates are still at all-time low, but if they're having some credit issues, this guy will definitely help you increase your clients' FICO scores to get them to qualify and ultimately get deals into escrow. So with that being said, thank you guys for being on the call. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys are phenomenal. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you this afternoon, okay? Bye for now, guys.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Al. You rock, brother.
Thanks.